And we're live. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the anniversary edition of Get Busy with Kit and Jim. And we have got an awesome panel here today. We're kind of free flying, free loading. I don't know whatever the term is. We're flying by the seat of our pants today because we just want to come in and have a great time with everybody. So I'm going to go down the panel from my left. Starting with Mark, and just ask everybody to introduce themselves and bring in the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. So, hey, Mark.
Good morning,
Mark.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's.
Crash here with the Music Pulse. For those of you that don't know it, I cover the music industry, and that's who I am.
Awesome, Mark. And next in line, my partner in crime, Kit. Good morning, Kit.
Morning and Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, so who am I? Well, I'm a writer. I like to call myself a writer, but I'm pretty much crazy. I'm a rambler. I like to call myself a rambler. I think that's a better description of who I am. And I'm really excited because we have some of our old partners in crime here with Greg and Carolyn. I've been pleading with them to come on our show. So after 6 months, they're here. And Greg looks really handsome, by the way.
and Carolyn looks awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
She's always cute, so yes. she knows it. So, and also Mark and Amber, thank you so much for celebrating with us. It's gonna be fun.
Thank you.
It is a big celebration. So, Greg, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? I'm a digital marketer with my own firm, co-owned by Carolyn Capern, which I would have to say, honestly, always looks better than me, even on her worst days. It just goes without saying. But I also like to look at future technologies. I love what's coming down the pipe, what we're going to have in store for us in the near future, and how rapidly it's advancing. And I like to look at ways that companies can actually leverage that technology in order to make a fortune.
Nice. And we're going to chat a little bit about that because I'm intrigued as well. So welcome, Greg. Thank you for stopping by. And Carolyn.
Guys, I'm so happy to be back. It's been a real void in my Tuesdays not being with you on the panel, but sometimes other stuff has to intrude, so I let it intrude. I'm a digital storyteller with CT Social. Words are definitely what I'm all about in the same way that Greg's all about technology and code. I love listening to people sharing their stories, blogging, tweeting, Facebooking, plussing, pinning, you name it, I'm there. So very happy to be here to talk to you guys and to share a little bit about what's going to be happening in the new year, hopefully.
Yeah. So I want to hear from Greg. I want to hear his thoughts on trending technology, and from you, Carolyn, I want to hear some of your thoughts on what's trending with social media. So kind of keep that in mind. I want to hit you up for that. Amber, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, of course.
And we're happy to have you. So tell us a little bit about Amber.
So my name is Amber Wright, and I am the conversation coach. I am the owner and creator of TalkToAmber.com, and that is the favorite place on the web for bloggers and entrepreneurs to learn how to speak with less fear and more finesse. And yes, that was a commercial. Like Carolyn, I love words. I love to talk to people, and I love how we use them to share our experiences and to connect with each other. And so I work to help bloggers and entrepreneurs better use their words when they're speaking, so that way they can grow their businesses and increase their visibility and just tell the world how awesome they are. So that's what I love to do.
Right, and so I'm looking forward to getting a good convo going between you and Carolyn. Talking trends in social media, trends in blogging. I know Carolyn's given herself a huge challenge this year, and I want to kind of touch base with her and see where she's at. But let me kick back over to Mark and just ask Mark, what do you think is trending in the music business?
Well, where my eyes are at, obviously, is on the social side of things, on the internet, and how the market's affected by that. That's kind of where my brain's at the most. You've got the music streaming that's been the big thing, and exploding into 2015, we've got more music streaming coming into the market than ever before. They're starting to grow into FLAC files, which is the high-res files, and that's the big thing. You've heard of Neil Young's Pono. The Pono device, Neil Young kicked that out with a Kickstarter that went into the millions really quick because of his name in the industry. But he actually stirred the hornet's nest in regards to accenting the fact that the quality of the sound is not the same as it was back when we had it in the 70s, when we had our high fidelity and our vinyl that we were able to listen to, that our ears have been stunted over the time because they've stripped it and they went down to MP3s, and that's stripped the sound quality. And you get accustomed to that, and you're used to the convenience of it, because MP3s, that's what it was all about, was the convenience. But at the same time, you're being robbed of a richness in the sound that you don't realize is not there until you start to get into something like his Pono system. And now we have other streaming music systems that have come in since he kicked the hornet's nest and started entering the market, bringing it into streaming versus a device. And that has brought the price point down. And so I think that's probably where most people are going to go towards. There's two main systems that came in within the last month or so. It's Deezer and Tidal. And those two systems both are advocating and have available on their systems FLAC files, high-res files that have a better sound quality. So you see this market starting to flush out. The other thing that you've seen, if you've seen it, follow any of my posting, I've been covering, because I go out and I test drive every one of those systems and I stay on them, is that the systems are going more towards a publication. And that's kind of what I've been advocating and really wanting to see grow for years now, because that's my interest. I love to read and soak in all the bloggers and all the information that's revolving around whatever music that you're listening to. So for years I've done it where I've paired it. I'll go out and I'll listen to the music and I'll go grab my interest in it and the textual, and I'll sit there and listen to the music at the same time I'm reading all about it. I enjoy that. That's what I soak in. So now you start to see Tidal doing that. They have a full-blown publication, and also Rhapsody for years has been doing that, and I always promote Rhapsody because that's the platform that I'm on. So you see that starting to come into the systems. There's a bunch more stuff, and maybe we'll come back to it if we go through the panel, but that's where we're at with the market right now.
Sounds good. So, hey, Kit, what in the writing world, what are you thinking? It may be trending or it may not be trending, but what is going to be important for you in 2015 as far as your specific writing goes, and as maybe some trends that you can think of in writing in the upcoming year?
Well, as for me, my motto, my motto for 2015 is to be more courageous with my writing, and by that I mean to get into different forms of writing, like freelance writing and travel writing. These are two areas that I personally think will certainly blow up in the future. It's already a hot topic, but more and more people, because brands need that kind of content, so more and more people are offering their services as freelance bloggers and freelance journalists and freelance writers. There's a subtle difference between each one of them, but I would love to, that is kind of where I'm going with 2015, is to just be able to push my limits gently and, kind of expand my repertoire of writing, because I don't know, I pretty much want to soak in everything that has to do with writing, because words, much like Carolyn and Amber, is what I'm all about too. So that's my passion. So that's where I'm going.
Awesome. We love words. What would we do without words, right?
I would like to point out at this point in time that I actually write a lot. I write thousands and thousands of lines, probably a couple thousand lines a month, if not more, for one specific client. I probably handle several clients, a month, just in writing this code for them. And sure, maybe it's not English, but you say that writing in any other language isn't as important. The language that I write in not only gives graphical depiction, it also gives written information as well. And just get sitting there shaking your head. It's a legitimate form of communication.
This has been a long-standing argument. No, coding is not writing. No.
Code is poetry.
Yeah.
I could give you links to some of my recent projects, and just by looking at it, you can tell what the message is, and it communicates to you.
Greg, I can honestly say that without what you do, none of what I do would appear nearly as pretty. So.
The other thing that I think is going to grow big in 2015 is crowdfunding for authors. That's something I just stumbled upon recently while reading some article, and apparently it's getting big. So it's not just about entrepreneurs, like business entrepreneurs and products and services. People are actually crowdfunding books. I'm sure people have done it in the past, but it's gaining momentum now, with self-publishing and all of that. So I think that's something to look out for as well.
We've seen some. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, let me get on my little crowdfunding soapbox here for just a second. So yeah, I think what people are really starting to realize, that even maybe more important than the funds that you raise with a crowdfunding effort, that it's really just a great big marketing tool, right? It's an awesome way to market your business. I don't think there's a better way in 2015 going forward to market your business than crowdfunding, and you get a bonus. Typically marketing costs you something, but if you combine your marketing effort with your crowdfunding effort, you get, like I tell everybody, a 2 for 3 for 4 for. You get so many benefits from the crowdfunding, and I think it's perfect for authors, for musicians. I think there are a lot of creative ways that people can use crowdfunding. So that's
I
it.
think there's something that you're not accenting, Jim, that's important that most people don't realize with the crowdfunding, that you're actually able to formulate your business and make it visible to backers. So you may not really get the funds that you were looking for when you go out and you try to get the crowdfunding, but you're representing what you're doing and you're presenting it to the world in such a way that the backers are out there watching it. And a lot of times your offshoot reward is the fact that you have people present themselves to you that are interested in whatever you're into that you're trying to get the crowdfunding for. So a lot of people that think that they're after that money and they think they failed because they didn't get it, they didn't meet that criteria, really get the reward on the backside with the relationships they build and into the community of backing. So it's always something you want to be aware of.
That's an excellent point, Mark, because branding is really important when crowdfunding. I can't stress how many Kickstarters I see that the branding is really poor and they kind of fall short. And I think that it has a lot to do with branding. And then, like you said, in additional to that, if they do fall short, if they've done a good job branding, they can still bring people to their website. They can still, bring people on board with them, advocate for them, and it's part of building an audience. And that's an avenue for building an audience that I don't think a lot of companies really think about. That when you're setting up a Kickstarter, that you're actually branding yourself.
Very true.
Yeah, it's like a give and take process, right? You have to offer something of value to your audience and form the connection. It's just like any other genuine marketing effort. It's not all about yourself. It's about what can you do for your audience and why they should validate your brainchild. Yeah.
Very well said.
Good. Okay, so now let's jump in. I want to jump in with Carolyn and Greg. I've got you on my mind too, but I want to, before we get to that, because we already had a conversation in the green room, and I'm really super intrigued about a couple of topics I want to cover with you. But let's jump over to Carolyn and Amber, and let's get a discussion going about what you think are some of the important trends in social media. Where do you think social media is going in 2015, and what are some of the good things and maybe some of the tough, not so good, some of the negatives in going on in social media as well right now and in the future. So, Carolyn, what do you think?
Well, that's a whole lot of questions, and all of them are very, very relevant to the social media scene today. We saw several new platforms pop up last year, Sue and Ello being chief among them, and I'm fairly confident that we'll see at least a handful more this year. Actually, Greg and I are already trying out another new social platform that's just in the process of rolling out, that's called Got Chosen, and it actually lives on our website. which makes it a very, very unique platform in certain regards. And there's probably a lot more that we could talk about with that one specifically. But in social media broadly this year, I think what we're going to see even more than we have in the last year is an emphasis on the fans, because we've gone through the stages where brands are strictly self-promotional, and while there's still some holdouts, I think a lot of people have gotten the message that, okay, straight self-promotion is not going to work, not acceptable, not interesting. Now in the last year or so, we moved into the stage where brands started to become publishers. And we're still going to have some people tagging on to that, but eventually, and actually we're already getting to the stage where fans are overwhelmed by content. So content, unless it's exceptional, is no longer what's standing out either. So what do you do next? Well, the big brands started it last year. Greg and I went to a conference called Social Fresh where they talked a whole lot about this. What comes next is spinning around the spotlight and pointing it directly at your fans. Instead of talking all about the brand, you make it about them. We saw it with the My Duncan campaign, with the Share a Coke campaign, and I think what's going to happen now that the big brands have been comfortably ensconced in it for a little while, I think what we'll probably see next is mid-size and smaller brands starting to attempt to replicate the same thing with varying degrees of success. So that's my, in a nutshell, projection on what people are going to be looking at for strategy. I'd be curious to hear what Amber thinks.
I really agree with that because, the big buzzword, and I think we talked about this when I was on the show earlier with Jim and Kit, is authenticity, right? Everyone is using that word. It's everywhere because it's not going to go away because it means so much. You have to be authentic, and you're not being authentic as a brand if, like you're saying, Carolyn, everything is about you. It's got to be, people want to know now, what can you do for me and how are you going to do it? And there is an onus on brands and anybody really who produces content that needs to be consumed by other people to help them understand that. Even I'm getting into that space of really working hard to offer valuable content to my readers in terms of public speaking and communication. So I think when it comes to social media, people are really looking for, how authentic are you? Is this really real? Who are you? And that's, like I was saying earlier, that connection is what we all crave. And so I think more companies, more brands, and individuals themselves are looking to present their more authentic self. And I know amongst a lot of my blogger friends, we've been talking about the way blogging used to be, like back in the day when you really got to know somebody because of their blog, because you read their story and they walked their dog for the day and then they'd come home and their dog died or whatever, and then you felt bad and you sent them a comment about how sad you were because their dog died. Now it's like, here's this new, pet food from Petco, because it's like a lot of sponsored posts, working with brands and all this stuff. And so we're yearning for that time when it was a little bit more honest. And I think as these worlds continue to collide with like blogging and corporate sponsors, hopefully we'll be able to walk that line, and that will be presented in all the avenues when it comes to social media.
Yeah, I completely agree about the content oversaturation. Now, that's for sure. You have to be excellent or you're going to be weeded out. And I think a lot of people are going the video route, which I think is going to be big in 2015. Of course, Greg can add on more to this, but from what I've read, especially after Facebook amped up their native video, and it's doing pretty well, and you have obviously YouTube and Google, which is dominating the market. More and more people are turning towards video because that is one of, an amazing way to present your authentic self, or your, present value. I mean, tell people what makes you different, because everyone is different. It's the problem is how do you communicate your uniqueness, and how do you, how do you get your audience to connect with you and make them feel that, hey, you're real, you're different, and what I may be saying the same thing, but I'm saying it differently. So there's some value in connecting with me.
Exactly. And I think we'll see a lot of people continuing to take on podcasting as an effort too. I don't know enough about it to make a projection as to how many more people would go that direction as to video, but I can follow the logic, which is that when I'm commuting every day, which personally I don't because I work from home, but a lot of people do spend a lot of time in the car, on the train, on the bus, whatever, that it's easier for them to put in their earphones and listen to a podcast and absorb information that way than it is to put on a video and watch something, especially if you're driving, obviously, and easier than reading for the same reason. So I think we'll probably see a continued rise in that, although perhaps more of the slow and steady rise as opposed to just the straight shot up, because it does take a lot of work to put together a really good podcast.
And I think the social media sites that people have been ignoring for a little bit now, which not the big five, but things like Vine or Tumblr, these websites are, because it's still not crowded like Facebook or Twitter. I mean, these places are crowded and they're saturated already, so it's really hard to break away from the noise. So I think people will be turning towards more different platforms and different ways of differentiating themselves and being more creative, which is something that I've been...
You're right, Kit, and I think also in terms of trends, I think people are going to start leaning towards really that idea of working the platforms that work best for you. I think before there was this idea that you had to be present on Vine, on Tumblr, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever, but it's just too much. It's too much and it's overwhelming. Like when LO came out last year, I was like, I can't do it. I'm not doing it.
I had the same reaction. I couldn't handle it. Exactly.
I was like, you will find me on Facebook, you will find me on Twitter, maybe, and you will find me on Instagram for sure. And those are the platforms that work best for me, so those are the ones that I use, and I think that that's happening a lot. I was reading the other day on Michael Hyatt's website, who wrote the book Platform, and he took away the comment section on his blog. And now people are thinking about that. More big, brand blogger people, like Copy Blogger 2, for example, they took the comment section off of their blog. People are starting to do what works for them and what makes sense for their brand, because now there's so many opportunities for you to still connect with your audience. It's like, maybe, I don't know, do you need the comments or do you not? So that was another good point that came to my mind when you were talking.
There was actually a large company that actually took themselves totally off of Facebook because they decided the same thing, that they didn't need that audience. They had already built up their audience. They already had their brand presence to a point that they didn't need it.
Yes.
And it was just too much distraction, too much for them, and they just took it off.
Yeah, but I think when it comes to taking out the comments from for blogging, I would not recommend that for smaller businesses, because Copy Blogger is an established brand, and people will seek out a Copy Blogger or Michael Hyatt, who's also one of my favorites. But when it comes to like smaller brands, that's your website is your hub. I personally believe you should not.
It's how you build the community.
Yeah, you should kind of bring people back. I know writers who don't even have any presence on any platform, honestly. Okay, they just communicate with their audience through, via guest posts and email marketing, which I don't think is going anywhere. What do you think, Greg? I think email marketing is just going to be even more important, because that remains the most intimate form of connection.
It really is, honestly. Email is almost as good as knowing somebody's phone number. In fact, I'll check email. I'm more likely, probably 100 times more likely, to check my email than I am to answer a phone call from somebody. So if somebody emails me, I'm on it, I'm looking at it, I'm trying to decide whether or not it's a point of action right this minute, or if it's something that I can put later in my queue for the day. But email is extremely important, and as a small business owner, and many other business owners, even medium to large business, they're run and ruled by their emails. So I think that that's going to be the most effective form of contact and being able to connect with people and advertise, basically. And it's going to be for a very long time. But to what Jim was saying, and Kit as well, about podcasting and video, I think that those are also going to be extremely huge. Video is becoming more prolific and easy to create. We're on a Google Hangout right now that's streaming live to people that are watching it. It's going to go on a YouTube channel that people can find it then later. That's a great service right there all on its own. We have better availability of video through through Facebook, like you said, where they have their native video in there now, and they've actually boosted the numbers a little bit, so that way you get more views via their uploaded video than you do an embedded video from YouTube or something. So they're encouraging you to upload video direct to that. Instagram had video, installed. I think it was either early last year or late year before that. And now we have so many other video platforms. I actually got invited late last year to an entirely new video social media. And so the whole idea is it's called Movey, M-O-V-E-Y. And what it is it's kind of like being able to send text messages back and forth, but video. So if you wanted to send me a message, you would just open up the app and go to send me a private message, take a video. So you say whatever you want in the video, and then it pings me. I watch the video, and then I can respond via video. So it's a collaboration tool that's as impersonal as a text message, but still very face-to-face oriented. Gives you that connection and that value, and I think that's what a lot of people are going for when they move to podcasts or video, because there's nothing that really replaces face-to-face or the sound of voice. The reason that podcasts work so well is because you can hear the inflection, you can hear the tone. Sarcasm becomes easier to pick up. It's easier to tell when somebody's serious, when they're being solemn, and all of these emotions are what drive the human connection. And when you live in such an emotionless world of social media, everybody's just striving for that connection. I mean, many people don't live alone and just stay inside and don't go talk to people. People go to places like bars and community events to be around other people, just to know that they...
Wait. Outside. Outside? Hold on a second.
Very foreign to this group of people, yes.
Sorry, Greg, go on.
Well, I was just basically painting the idea that, we all want to be validated by somebody else. We want to be acknowledged, and we want to acknowledge and validate other people. It's how we define our existence. And to take that away through the internet is really, it would drive people away from the internet. So, of course, people are trying to find more ways to connect face-to-face and, be able to hear other people's voices.
Oh yeah, I don't think anything can beat face-to-face conversations. I mean, just last week I was across at my neighbor's place, and we spent like 1 hour just chatting about everything from Indian culture to why kids don't pick up their phones to football. It took all but 1 hour, and that was more powerful than 10 hours on Facebook or Google Plus or wherever, because it's just something about sitting in front of someone, and it just makes it cozier. It just makes people come closer. So you never know, maybe like this oversaturation of platforms might drive people away from platforms, and like you said, more towards connecting face to face and really making that connection with people you really care about.
I keep seeing more and more articles about that popping into my stream, about disconnecting from your cell phone, and how much better it is for creativity and all kinds of other things. Kidding completely aside, some of the most valuable connections I've made through the Plus, and personal connections, not necessarily business connections, are with people like Chef Dennis and Tina Willis and Mark Ensign, all of whom Greg and I have been lucky enough to spend time with in person because they've been down here. Got to meet Les Dossie last year, which was amazing. Talk about an inspiring man. He's up there. It's just really rewarding too to be able to take these people, valuable relationships that I have online, translate them into the offline world and make it even more special that way. So I think, and I hope that we'll see a lot of that in the coming year, where people, start looking at their connections on social media as actual people that they could go meet and follow through on that whenever possible. So it's valuable.
Thing that we have, that the evolution of our interactions and our social structures changing so much because of what we have on the internet. It's an amazing thing. There's a lot of articles in regards to that of our change in our way of dealing with people and communicating to the real world versus online. So it's an interesting thing.
That it is.
That's what I want my readers to know and to understand. It's okay to give of yourself a little bit, and especially when you're standing up speaking, because people, like Greg was saying, you know, we all want to feel like we're not alone in this world, and by us being brave enough to kind of stand up and share our stories and share our experiences, and you know, like I don't always post pictures with my daughter's hair combed on Instagram because her hair ain't always combed, because that's just the reality. You know, there's that, you know, I don't try to present this like perfect life, and that's what resonates with people more, because
Yes, for sure.
who
Yes,
has time?
yes, because especially you know, social media is great to cultivate like an inferiority complex. I know a month ago I was just browsing through kind of a close friend's wife's photographs on Facebook, and they look so happy and always smiling, and I'm like, I actually burst into tears saying, don't they ever fight? Don't they ever cry? I mean, they're always, you know, posting happy pictures, and I'm like, is this a real you, or you know, are you just throwing out the highlight reels? Because and one of my favorite bloggers, Jeff Goins, I'm sure you know about him too. So he wrote this amazing article in New Year's about how you know, we are always putting up the happy moments, but people are afraid to share the negative moments because they're afraid that people will think lowly of them or people will judge them. What they don't realize is by actually being the real you, people will connect with you because everyone goes through the same troubles. You know, everyone faces the same challenges, but you know, you always have this pearly white teeth flashing like toothpaste model on every photograph. It just looks, it looks a little made up.
Well, my teeth are white, though, kid.
I want to not to drag us down or anything, but I just want to touch on this for a second and talk a little bit about the dark side of the internet, because you know, we had the big Sony hack, and I know it was big all over the world, but it was especially big out here, you know, being in Hollywood, and the impact that that had, and the debate over whether it really was North Korea or was it an inside job. So I want to just touch a little bit, for authenticity purposes and just kind of keeping it real, talking a little bit about the dark side of the internet and the things that we can do to maybe protect ourselves from that. And Greg, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, and I'd like your thoughts on that.
All right. Well, one of the first things, especially when you're talking about hacking and cybersecurity, you really need a great cybersecurity team, or at least a company that looks into your cybersecurity on how they might be able to help you. But a lot of these hackers are really top notch. They do nothing but look at how to break into these companies and how to extract data, and they basically make a living off of it. And unfortunately, the best way to combat against it is to hire the very people that are hacking you inside out, and have them create a system that stops any potential hackers like them from being able to get in. The particular case, though, with North Korea allegedly hacking Sony in order to basically keep this movie, The Interview, from coming out, which really didn't fail. I mean, which really did fail if you think about it. Basically, what they did was say, okay, don't go watch this movie in theaters. Instead, watch it from your home in complete comfortability, or completely comfortable. And you know, you don't have to go and pay for it. You can watch it for free. So it is almost a favor to everybody. Like, you don't have to go watch this, what I believe was a terrible movie. I didn't actually see it in completion.
Bad. I watched it. It was terrible.
Okay. I've seen a little bit of it, and it looked pretty bad. So I didn't really spend my time on it, but I heard it was horrible. So I mean, the way that it looks like North Korea could have done it, but at the same time I question, do they actually have the technology and the hackers to complete a task like this, seeing as how their missile launch last year, which they claimed that they could launch a missile from their shores and hit California, went down 90 miles off of their shore. They didn't even make it a quarter of the way to California. So
expanding on that thought, Greg, is the fact that, and this is hypothetical, but in the world of marketing and things, it would have been a very good thing for Sony to actually create the whole problem. so that they ended up circumventing a normal process of our licensing, et cetera, and how these things hit the internet. They've got a certain decorum. It comes out in UK, it comes out in America, and these things set precedent, and you can't break that precedent until you do something like that happened. So now they have broken precedent, and now you have a whole different marketing set. You won't have a bunch of people jumping into the lawyers. They've just circumvented that and gotten around it. Now, I'm not saying that they actually did that, but I'm saying hypothetically that could have been very much what happened, and that's what I kind of jumped in. And I'm a paranoid type of individual, so I reach for things like that. But
well, no, you're right. Sometimes in order to introduce disruptive technologies or disruptive techniques, you have to cause the disruption yourself, even if it's completely fabricated, in order to get whatever policies or measures you want pushed forward. I mean, there's a whole lot of that, especially when you talk about government and conspiracy theories about the government wronging people in order to establish certain policies. But I mean, that could really happen anywhere, and you're absolutely right. In order to avoid lawyers and things like that, it's like, wow, no, it's this bad thing that happened to me, and now because of that, we're doing this.
And human nature being what it is, they all just right away go to that new precedent, and now that whole thing is over with. It was a great genius move if they did it. I mean, that was excellent.
Well, it is difficult for me to see that the hackers in North Korea would actually have that kind of skills and abilities, because really, when you see those types of skilled hackers, they're usually out of America, some out of South America, but generally Eastern Europe and the Middle East is where you get the really top-notch hackers.
Don't forget China. They've got some skills.
Oh, yes, China does, actually.
Okay, yeah, really good conversation. Yeah, and I agree. I believe that security is going to be one of the words of 2015, cyber hacking and cybersecurity, and I think it's going to be uber important that we are all careful. I know my site was hacked, and I'm still getting it fixed. Yeah. So, anyways, it can impact any of us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say my Twitter account was hacked a while ago, and that was awful. I mean, they were sending like pornographic text messages to people, and thankfully, a good friend of mine who knew I wouldn't do anything like that pointed it out to me. And I kind of changed my password. But there's this really great article on Post Planner about how you can make your Twitter account more secure. I can post that link in the comments section, just to give people an idea.
Okay, yeah, cool. Thank you, Kit. So now I want to take the conversation in a slightly different direction, but still on trend, and talk to Greg about what he thinks some of the future trends are in technology. I know over here we just had the CES, and there were a lot of things, self-driving automobiles, 3D printers, all kinds of crazy technology that's coming in the new year and beyond. So, Greg, what are your thoughts on some of the technology?
Well, like you said, self-driving cars, that's one thing that we're really, really looking into now, especially with a lot of the safety reports that came out with self-driving cars showing that I think it was greater than 90% of the time they managed to maneuver away from accidents and get out of dangerous situations. So that's really amazing. And on top of that, being able to work while I'm on my way to a meeting and not have to lose the time in the commute. That's huge for me. I turn down meetings sometimes specifically because I don't have time for the commute. Not because I don't have time for the meeting, it's because I can't lose the time in the commute, so I can't go to this meeting. And being able to work all the way to the meeting and then all the way back or to the next meeting or whatever, it's going to be huge. Not only that, but like I said, the safety factor. I mean, with that kind of technology, which we're talking about disruptive technologies, and this one's extremely disruptive if you think about it, how do the cops enforce? Because I'm not driving. What if my car's speeding? Who's at fault there? Do I actually get the ticket for my car speeding? Like that, I don't see how they would enforce something like that. What if my car actually malfunctions and runs a red light? Who is at fault?
Interesting concept on that. I just look at how many drunk drivers are going to get off the road.
Oh yes, that's huge too. People, under intoxication of anything. I mean, anything really causes you to have slight issues in driving, as our friend Tina Willis would say. Even having a conversation can be a distraction that causes an accident while driving. And with us in America, we're so fond of our drugs, especially the ones that we can obtain from doctors, and we're all addicted to caffeine apparently. And now we have new laws in most of our states that allow us to smoke marijuana, and people drink like crazy. So there's a lot of risk of people being intoxicated while driving just on a daily basis. If you have to get somewhere, if it's a life or death situation, but you're so high on oxycodone, I mean, you're going to find a way to get there anyways. I mean, people will do what they have to do, and if driving's part of that, that's what they're going to do. And I think this is a great technology to come out, and I honestly can't wait to see it becoming adopted, hopefully in the next 5 years. But I think projections are a little bit farther out than that. I'm a little bit more optimistic about the rate in which the technology is progressing. But that one's huge. Go ahead, Carolyn.
I was just going to say, it's been fun reading some of the articles that have been coming out lately by people like The Onion, and I think it was Tech Times, but it might have been somebody else. I've read a couple of articles about the self-driving cars as people have been test driving them. And the consensus so far, the one-word summary would be boring. Which is exactly really the way it should be. It shouldn't be a thrill ride experience getting from the bar back home. If you're drunk and you get in the car, it should not be that exciting. And I was also reading that you will be able to take control back in a lot of them fairly easily. Of course, you would have to if something was going wrong, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens.
I like the fact that when I get older, they won't be able to take my license away. I'll still be able to get around in my car.
And this might help me with like snowy conditions, because I never drive snowy conditions. So I mean, this is a new concept. I actually was not aware of self-driving cars. This is the first time I'm actually hearing about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday from the Detroit car show, I think that's happening right now, and Mercedes, it looks like this kind of capsule-y thing.
Like an egg on wheels.
On the inside. It's really futuristic.
The Google self-driving cars are so cute. I'm going to try and screen share to one, actually.
It's a fashion statement, huh?
No, they look like little mice. Look at that.
We're approaching the era of the Jetsons.
This should be interesting in India, because you have like billion people on the road with cows and cats and dogs, and everyone sharing the same road. It'd be interesting to see a self-driving car.
Well, you know what? And I've read it raises kind of an interesting question, because how would a self-driving car, like a human driving a car, if you were faced with, like, let's say you came up upon a situation where there was actually somebody in the road, or a lady pushing her child in a stroller on the road, and a car coming at you in the other direction, a human might decide to veer left and run into the car. But what kind of decision is a self-driving car going to make?
Well,
get enough of them on the road, it's going to be a consistent decision.
From what I understand, they've done a few tests with this, with obstacles in the road, in order to see how the self-driving cars handle it. And from the way that the technology works is it actually creates a 3D map of an area around the self-driving car and determines the best route via the 3D map in order to get around its obstacle. Yes, apparently so. Your chauffeur will be unemployed.
So my husband will no longer be required. Yes.
Wow. I don't think that's a self-driving car that takes care of that.
Okay, well, guys, I have to jump off. I'm so sad, but I've got an appointment that I've got to head to, and I don't have a self-driving car, so I have to. But it's been great hanging out with you all. Happy anniversary, Jim and Kid, and I'm excited about the show and the new year, and I will be connecting with all of you online.
Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you.
Bye, Amber.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Okay, so one more little piece of technology that I'm very intrigued about that we talked about a little bit, Greg, in the green room, is 3D printing. So tell us about, well, number one, do you have a 3D printer, or is there one maybe coming sometime in the near future?
Not at the moment. I am talking to Carolyn about it, trying to get her to see the perception that I see with 3D printers, and she seems at least partially on board with my idea. She's a little worried about money and how we might be able to fund it, but I think that if we actually create a great outline for what it is that I'm trying to accomplish with 3D printers, that we'll be able to get some backers, we'll be able to get some angel investors, and maybe even some Kickstarter money as well through that.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd be happy to manage a crowdfunding campaign for you.
Well, once we outline in greater detail what it is that we're doing, and there's a huge software element to it, so once I outline the software and we're basically investment ready, then we're going to start looking at things like that. But when it comes to 3D printers, that is the revolutionary disruptive technology that I think is going to have the greatest impact in the next 5 to 7 years. And it's following a very similar model to that of a regular printer. I mean, when printers first came out, the biggest question was why would anybody want a printer? We didn't print all these documents, and we didn't have use for them, especially not in our own homes. And once printers became a staple for the average person, you're printing out work documents, coupons. I know a lot of people that did couponing over the internet and would download their coupons and print them out and take them to the store. And you had a lot of various reasons. I mean, printing pictures. People said, they said nobody would ever print pictures, that you would take your film to the store and that they would create your great prints, and there would be no reason to print pictures at home. But yet people print pictures at home nonstop, and these things are being said about 3D printers at the moment. But I see a huge field that is available for these, a great market from basically every industry, anywhere from a handyman workshop to the dentist. I mean, if they can actually just 3D print a crown for you, then you can have it in minutes, rather than, okay, we took your size and everything, now we got to make the crown, and then you have to come back for a separate appointment so that we can file down your tooth and adhere the crown. They can just 3D print it with exact precision from a 3D model of your tooth. So you're getting the exact tooth that you had before. It shouldn't fit differently, it should feel perfectly. I've actually even heard reports of them being able to 3D print bone. So being able to do a bone transplant for somebody would be huge. If you actually lose a large portion of your bone, but you have your limb attached, being able to replace that. It's amazing what they can do with them. There's actually a couple of companies that I know of online, you can actually search for this, that 3D print furniture. So if you want a desk, they'll 3D print you a desk. You can work with them to design the desk, and a lot of this stuff is for a little bit more of your contemporary companies, and it is pricey. So the styling is something that you can't really get anywhere else, but it gives them that opportunity to get their furniture within a week of being able to submit their designs. So fast turnaround and being able to create practical items is really what 3D printing is about. And as we delve more into that technology, once it becomes more of a staple and we start to see 3D printers come down in price around to the 300 range, people are going to start buying them for their home. And that's when you're going to start seeing things that you can print offline. Once we discover, I mean, if we can print bone, what really stops us from being able to print a Big Mac? I mean, really, it's just having the right components loaded into the 3D printer, the right formula for the 3D printer, and then there you go. You're getting your sandwich printed right then and there. You could potentially print a can of soda for somebody.
The ink cost is going to be exorbitant.
Well, in that case, it wouldn't actually be ink. You would actually have raw protein materials. But yes, it would be kind of pricey. But everything, when it first comes out, is extremely pricey, and it just starts to come down, lower and lower. I mean, think about computers and computer technology, flat screens, and those kinds of things. When flat screens first came out, the LCD screens, they were upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 for a television. Now I can go and get a much higher quality television than that for $300, about the 45-inch. And that's insane. That's a really, really low price for a huge, high-quality TV. Back when they first came out, that would be unheard of. That would probably be close to a $100,000 TV, if not more. But it's the availability of the technology as it becomes more available and more adopted. The price is going to go down, and people will jump all over it when you can print a tool. Let's say I have a problem with my car. I don't have the tools, but I can print them out for $10 worth of material and follow this YouTube instruction, and I don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for somebody else to do it.
All right.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be fascinating, and it's going to be really interesting to see where the whole direction of that goes, right? Because, I can envision it's almost like the perfect niche market. Like there's going to be, it's not going to be a one 3D printer, does all. It's going to be such a niche market. It's going to be a crazy niche market. Just because of the raw materials, and if you've got a printer printing food items, I don't think you want it printing furniture. I don't know. But
no, you're absolutely right. You would want a food printer that's completely separate from a printer that is going to print your clothing if you're printing clothing.
Exactly.
And not only that, but you're going to have a market of 3D printers. You're going to have a market of designers, and you're going to have a market of materials. And then there's going to be several other services that revolve around that people use in order to print stuff for you and then send it to you, like almost like a Vista print of 3D printing.
Right.
Hey, Kristen.
Yeah, very cool.
Hey, Kristen.
Hey, Kristen.
Hi. I know you guys already kind of left it alone, or left the subject behind, but I don't know. It's all relevant, I think. Talking about moving forward. But I think that next year is totally the year of the can do. We can do. And so I think that anything that anyone learns is going to become exciting for them. And I think the more exciting thing about that is that we're going to be able to realize that we can teach each other. That's my input.
That's a great point. Actually, it's a great summary of what we just discussed today.
You're absolutely right as well. I mean, a lot of people they have this really interesting perception when it comes to learning and sharing knowledge. A lot of the time, I personally find that unsolicited knowledge is not very welcome. And I think that we're opening up to that a little bit more, getting used to hearing the things that maybe we didn't actually want to hear but are helpful in the end. And I think that we are experiencing a great awakening of self and knowledge.
And acceptance, too. Like, there's so many conversations about tolerance that I think are really beautiful. I mean, yeah, we have a long ways to go, but I think that I've just seen so much and so many different cultures coming together in one place that I think that's some really exciting things to look forward to.
I think people are like having each other's back. That's nice to see. So I think, there is negativity in this world. There's a lot of it. You see news, you read news about it every day, but then it's offset by people who really care. Like the guy who kind of protected that young girl whose parents died in an air crash, and who walked through a dark forest and tapped on the door of this guy, and he helped her. And I think that's a lot of great examples of humanity, and I think we need to remember that and protect that and cherish that as we move forward, not get embroiled in the negative side of it. Yeah, it's a good point.
Definitely, it's always really a choice as to whether and to what extent you engage in negativity. It's not going to stop being there as a matter of practicality, and honestly, to a certain amount, it's healthy. Negative conversation is another factor that drives us forward into new ways of approaching things, new concepts, new ideas. And that works right up until the point when it stops them happening. So it's all about balance, really.
Oh, another one is age, like crossing the barrier of age. A lot of people are coming together. It doesn't matter like how old someone is or how young someone is, but we're just finding this meeting place.
That's one of the things I love about social media is that I can sit down with someone who's been in the marketing or business industry for 30, 40 years, and they know basically the same amount I do about social media or less, depending on who they are. Yeah. And seriously, even the pros, even people like Jay Baer and Chris Brogan and the people that you think of as the big names in marketing, they're learning right alongside us. They might be a little bit further ahead as a result of what they do or being smart or whatever it happens to be, but they have had the same amount of time in it that we have, more or less.
It's time travel. That's why.
In our Google cars. Another operation they haven't told you about yet.
Man, sometimes I would love to go back to the 90s. It's just simpler, I like simple. I like just having simple conversations, and it's crazy. I've always been a little different.
So as we wrap down the best hour so far of 2015, I just want kind of final thoughts from everybody, and we'll start with Mark. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. It's a brave new world out there, and I think that we are actually changing our whole social aspects of how we communicate and what we do, and it's so fast that it's an amazing thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how 2015 pans out. How fast it was right at the very end of 2014 for me. Music was such a distinctive thing. And to see it wrap into 2015 and knowing it's just going to be just as fast and keep going as it is an amazing thing. So it's going to be a fun year.
Okay, Kristen, I know you just jumped in, but any parting thoughts?
I love you all.
Good morning, Kristen.
I'm just so excited that I've got friends. And at this time last year, it was just getting on social media and just starting to learn what it's like to have friends. And I thank you all for being part of my journey. And hope to be a part of yours.
Nice. Awesome. That's great. Greg?
Parting thoughts, really, the world is rapidly changing, and every day it's changing faster, and you have to change along with it. We can't be who we were yesterday. That's gone. We need to be who we're going to be tomorrow and start looking into what we're trying to become is ultimately it. I mean, none of us are perfect, and we can all become better at whatever it is that we're looking at becoming, and we just need to stay focused and, just go with the flow, move with the times. Innovate or die, I guess, is the
hashtag.
Hashtag. Carolyn.
Yeah, I'm going to have to dovetail off of Greg on that one and say that while you're keeping an eye on the future and in updating, I think the key to maintaining a sense of internal stability through all of that is just knowing yourself, knowing what you need in order to get by and maintain your own well-being on a regular basis, and also knowing who you want to become and being willing to adapt to that as you move forward along the way. So this is definitely going to be a really interesting year. It's going to be hard to predict like every other year. Every time you sit down around the new year, around the end of a previous year and talk about the trends and about what happened, it's always completely different than you expect. Some things wind up being accurate and some things wind up being not. So I think the key ultimately is just to keep the focus on what's going to be good for you and not what's just going to be trendy. We didn't really talk about it, but I'm embarking on this this Blog 365 challenge that I set for myself. I'm trying to blog every day, and I feel a little funny about it, given how much we talk about content saturation and how much I believe that's a problem. But you know, blogging is a part of me. Writing is something that I do, and I'm not going to express myself nearly as well in a video or in a podcast as I will in writing. It's just not what I do. So I'm doing it anyway because I feel like it's right for me and it's right for my site and my own progress. So that's really what it's hopefully going to be about, and hopefully this will be a year of maturing for a lot of people with social media.
Nice. Wow, that's amazing. Amazing, Carolyn. Great perspective. Kit, what are your parting thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mark, Greg, Carolyn, and Kristen for being here, and also Amber for celebrating this milestone for me. It's a huge milestone because, like Kristen said, a year ago I would have never imagined talking to people via video. I was very scared. And I was really thank Greg and Carolyn in particular for really bolstering my confidence during those first 2 months. I really couldn't tell you all.
Kit, you have just been such a joy to watch you grow on Hangouts this year and to get to know you better. You're a beautiful human being.
Aww.
Aww. Everybody send Kit big hugs.
Yes, big hugs.
I'm really happy that you broke out of your shell and you've been able to continue on with Get Busy and, you know, putting yourself out there. And I like seeing your posts on Facebook, which you know, previously I wasn't on Facebook very much, but I'm on there more. And even though I'm not interacting as much, I do read and, you know, I see what people post. And, you know, every now and then I have to troll you a little bit to show you that I still love you.
That seriously is how he shows he cares.
Yeah. So, Kit, yes, you are amazing. You've made
and Jim,
great
what can
progress.
I can't leave you out of the Love Fest, Jim.
Oh.
You've just been such a wonderful source of encouragement, I think, for everyone on here. You're just the most dynamic and caring host, and we all have to thank you for that.
Wow, much love. Thank you so much. Yeah, Kit, you got me a little bit teary-eyed there. But, yeah, thank you, Kit, for coming on this journey. Thank you so much, Dream Team and Dream Audience, for supporting us this year. It's definitely been a time of transition for all of us, and it was a great year. Looking forward to another great year. Again, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kristen, Greg, and Carolyn, and of course, Kit and I wish the best for everybody. Prosperous New Year, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.